Students, in this video, I will start the plant physiology lesson, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. In this session, I will cover the historical background of photosynthesis process. In the later videos, I will start the next concepts of this chapter. Before to that, please subscribe my channel for next coming videos. Before to start the historical background of photosynthesis, we have to know the meaning of photosynthesis and its definition. Photosynthesis is defined as it is a physico-chemical process by which the plants produces the organic material, that is carbohydrates, by using the inorganic raw material, that is CO2 and H2O, in presence of sunlight by using the chlorophyll molecule. Actually, it is the one of the physico-chemical reaction. It is the one of the redox reaction in which the green plants produces the organic material, that is carbohydrate material, by using the inorganic carbon dioxide and water molecule in presence of sunlight by using the chlorophyll pigments. So actual that process is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is also defined as the formation of carbon containing compounds by the plants from inorganic raw material, that is carbon dioxide and H2O. It is also called the carbon assimilation process. So here, in presence of sunlight, with the help of chlorophyll molecule, there is a formation of carbohydrate molecule, and the evolution of O2 is also takes place in this process. So that is the main importance of photosynthesis. Next, history of photosynthesis, that is historical background of photosynthesis. Before to the 17th century, it was considered that plants takes their food from the soil. But in the year 1648, Van Helmont gave an idea that food comes from the water molecule but not from the soil. He conducted some of the experiments and concluded that all food of the plants is derived from the water molecule but not from the soil. So this is the conclusion of Van Helmont in the year 1648. He given this idea. Later, in the year 1727, Stephen Hales explained that plants obtain a part of their nutrition from air, and he also explained that light may also play a very important role in this photosynthesis process. So that's why the Stephen Hales is called father of plant physiology. So according to Stephen Hales, plants obtain a part of nutrition from air, and light may also play a very important role in the photosynthesis process. Later, in the year 1779, Joseph Priestley explained by his experiment that plants restore to the air whatever the burning candle and breathing animals removes. In the year 1779, Joseph Priestley conducted the experiment by using the green plant, that is mint plant. He explained that plants purify the air by taking the one of the gas and they releases the necessary gas material. But he didn't explain the which is that particular gas like that. So this is the conclusion of Joseph Priestley. He given that conclusion in the year 1779. He conducted the experiment by using the mint plant, and he demonstrated that plants restore to the air whatever breathing animals and burning candles removes. So this is the conclusion of Joseph Priestley. Later in the year 1779, John Ingenhousz he conducted the experiment by using the aquatic plants. John Ingenhousz concluded by his experiments on aquatic plants that sunlight is essential for photosynthesis and plants releases the O2 bubbles in aquatic medium. So usually aquatic plants are present in the water medium. So by the photosynthesis process they releases the O2 molecules in the form of bubbles. These two conclusions are given by John Ingenhousz in the year 1779. Joseph Priestley, he conducted the experiment in the year 1772, but John Ingenhousz conducted the experiment in the year 1779 and he concluded by these points. That is, sunlight is essential for photosynthesis process and plants releases the O2 in the form of bubbles in an aquatic medium. And Joseph Priestley conducted the bell jar experiment and he explained that CO2 released during the burning process and by the respiration process, and these CO2 is converted to oxygen by the plants. This is the conclusion of Joseph Priestley, and he also discovered the oxygen in the year 1774. That is, Joseph Priestley discovered the oxygen in the year 1774 by conducting his bell jar experiment. But John Ingenhousz conducted the experiment by using the aquatic plants and he showed that in bright sunlight the small bubbles were formed around the green plants. Those bubbles are formed due to the liberation of oxygen molecules. But these bubbles did not form during the night time. That means always the oxygen produced by plants in presence of, and Ingenhousz also explained that the sunlight is necessary material to release the oxygen molecule by the photosynthesis process. Next, in the year 1804, Nicholas D. Saucer explained that amount of carbon dioxide absorbed is equal to the amount of oxygen released. He also explained that importance of water in the photosynthesis process. So these two are the two conclusions given by Nicholas D. Saucer in the year 1804. Later, in the year 1845, Julius Robert Mayer explained that plants convert solar radiant energy to chemical energy. So that's why the plants are called transducers. So actually, in presence of light energy, that is solar energy, plants synthesizes the food material. So these plants converts the light energy to chemical energy. So that's why he called the plants as transducers, because these converts the light energy to chemical energy. So this is the conclusion given by the Julius Robert Mayer in the year 1845. Later, in the year 1845, Liebig explained that the main source of carbon in plants is CO2. He explained the importance of carbon dioxide. Actually, whatever carbon material is there in plants, so that is came from the carbon dioxide only. He explained the importance of carbon dioxide in the year 1845. Next, in the year 1862, Julius Van Sachs explained that Starch is the first visible product of photosynthesis. Actually, the importance of starch and its production during photosynthesis was explained by Julius van Sachs in the year 1862. Later, Emerson explained the importance of photosystems, that is photosystem 1 and photosystem 2, and he also explained about the immersion effect and the red drop effect. Later in the year 1888, Engelmann explained that the liberation of oxygen is directly proportional to the rate of photosynthesis. Actually, Engelmann in the year 1888 he conducted the experiment by using the aerobic bacteria, and he explained that the liberation of oxygen is maximum when there is a maximum rate of photosynthesis. And he also explained that in presence of blue and red light there is a maximum liberation of the oxygen, and he explained that the maximum light is absorbed by chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. So that's why chlorophyll A and B pigments plays a very important role during the photosynthesis process. So that's why these chlorophyll A molecule are necessary, and these are acts as a necessary pigments during the photosynthesis process. Later in the 1954, Melvin Kelvin explained that the path of carbon in photosynthesis process, and he also explained about the C3 cycle, that is the Melvin Kelvin cycle. So that's why he awarded the Nobel Prize in the year 1961. The path of carbon is traced by Melvin and Kelvin during the photosynthesis process, and the first time dark reaction of photosynthesis was explained by Kelvin. So that's why the dark reaction of photosynthesis is called Melvin Kelvin cycle, that is C3 cycle of photosynthesis. That's why he got the Nobel Prize in the year 1961. So this is the historical background of photosynthesis process. In the later videos, I will explain the later concepts, that is next concepts of photosynthesis like chloroplast and next reactions of photosynthesis. Please subscribe my channel for next videos. Thank you.